the Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings 2021 BMW Championship Picks, Research, and First Look. You want to play in the final Pat Mayo Experience Listeners League of the Year, rake-free on DraftKings? Hit the description. It's right down there. We're going to be starting NFL, the Giant Week 1 contest, which is also rake-free next week. Smash the like button to the episode, subscribe to Mayo Media Network and the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast. You really want to help us out. But in the comment section, you tell me who you think is the early lean on the FedEx Cup that isn't John Rahm. Can't say John Rahm. Which guy is going to win the FedEx Cup that is not John Rahm? You say no one? Well, that works for the algorithm too, so I don't really care. Just put something down there, and we're going to be pretty happy about it moving forward. Obviously, the Northern Trust has been delayed until Monday for its final round, so we only have 3 rounds of data on fantasynational.com/Mayo to get yourself that 20% discount, by the way, if you want to work through all the tools and everything. It's not like golf has stopped or is stopping anytime soon, so Fantasy National, very relevant all year round, and especially relevant during the swing season when we have these crappy fields, and the simulator does some good work when there are crappy fields. So that's the time to really deploy Fantasy National to the best of its uses and all of the tools that it's had. But the final round will conclude on Monday afternoon. So we're pushing the golf show with Jeff to Tuesday for the picks, the DraftKings show till Wednesday. Monday, I'll have a fantasy football walkthrough show for stats and tools and research this year. If you like Fantasy National, you're going to love runthesims.com. Runthesims.com/Mayo will get you a discount. And if you get the package right now, the full package, which includes the customizable game simulator, the customizable DFS optimizer, the showdown optimizer, all of the betting tools. Those are all the premium products. But if you sign up right now, test out the premium product and say, fuck this isn't for me, I don't like it, you can cancel within 7 days, get your money back. That can be your free trial if you want to. But if you're just into season long or you just want to research, our advanced stats hub is completely free to everyone who just logs in. You don't have to pay anything, put down a credit card or anything like that. And you can really do some good work on the play-by-play levels of all of the information that we have up there. And we've made it as easily sortable as Fantasy National. So if you're good with Fantasy National, you'll have no problems breaking down all of the stuff, and you can search whatever you want from the NFL season, and we'll have that updated week by week in season 2 to help your process go forward. So runthesims.com/Mayo. Full show out on Monday for that one. But let's talk about this course. Actually, let's talk about the Northern Trust just for a minute. I actually think this shapes up really well for Tony Finau, not only because I have money on him for the first time in 2 years, and I would like to see him win, but it's always this circumstance that Jeff and I have talked about, or when are these guys going to break through? Now, this never happens, but theoretically, this is like what we want to have happen. Finau plays good enough in the 3rd round that he's still in either, depending on if they go out in 2s or 3s. I think it's still going to be in 2s unless they're really trying to save time. So he's either in the 3rd to last group or the 2nd to last group. But he's not in that final group, which I think is important. We also have a day off. We also have a Monday finish where there's just going to be, it's a high stakes event. The first leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs. It could really, like, if Finau wins this, he's essentially assured a spot on the Ryder Cup team at this point. I think so, at least. Winning a premier event in the playoffs like this close to the Ryder Cup selection, just recency bias will end up getting him on the team because it shows that he's back from his midseason malaise. However, it just feels like, well, it is a high-profile event, a Monday finish, not many people paying attention, very few people at the course, not many people watching. He's not playing in the final group. It actually seems like not so pressure-packed, and people just expect him to blow it this time. But now he's not even blowing it. He actually has to chase from a 2-stroke deficit. So I actually think this is, not to say that he's going to win, but I think it's the best circumstance for him to go out and post like a -7, hope that's good enough, and watch other people not get there behind him. So if he can do that, or at least just stay inside the top 5, Aaron Wise comes inside the top 20, I can finally have myself a nice week and have a nice bankroll going into football season and the swing season for golf. So we'll take a look at the 3-round stats a little bit towards the end of this show, but I want to jump into the BMW Championship because it's at a course that we've never really seen before. It's hosted a few other events, like it hosted the 1995 Mid-Amateur, the 2005 Division 1 Men's Championship, the 2009 Women's Div 1 Championship, the AJGA Cannon Cup in 1997 and 2004, the 2002 U.S. Seniors Open, the 2017 Seniors Player, the one that is the most important to look at. I mean, it's not even really that important to look at, to tell you the truth, but it hosted the Palmer Cup in 2017. That year on the U.S. team, you had Brian Harmon, Billy Horschel, Dustin Johnson, Chris Kirk, Luke List, and Webb Simpson. All could be in the field, probably not Luke List, at the BMW Championship, at least by the projected standings right now. But a lot of it depends on how that's going to work itself out throughout the course of Sunday or on Monday when these guys end up finishing and jockeying for points to get inside the top 70. There's no cut at the BMW Championship too, by the way, so you have to play it like it's a WGC type tournaments. We'll have the full breakdown on Tuesday and Wednesday for that. Once we get the pricing, we get the odds, everything. There's only 600 members at this course. It's a $100K initiation fee to join, $20K a year after that. So not a lot of people know that much about it. And it's been lengthened because that's why it never hosted a PGA event before. It was just too short. So that's difficult to really know going into it, how that's really going to play out. And we have 3 guys who are projected to be in the field that we don't know what their circumstances are going in. Patrick Reed withdrew earlier this week. If you were a newsletter subscriber, you got that information in your email, and hopefully you had a chance to switch your lineups. I try not to blast out too many emails or spam people, but I thought that was something that they would want to know if they had Patrick Reed in their lineups, that he's not actually playing this week, and it happened 40 minutes before lock time. So hopefully you caught that and didn't end up with Patrick Reed in your lineup. I feel for you guys on the West Coast, because if you had Patrick Reed in, there was no way you were waking up at like 3 a.m. to change your lineup. So that sucks. Hopefully you pivoted on to Tony Finau or something like that. Or Paul Casey, who's already lost like 7 strokes putting for the week. Not great, Paul. But at the same time, you can probably figure it out. That's why the newsletter to me is important, so I can put out when I learn new information that I deem as pertinent for people. That is something that I want to throw out. So Patrick Reed, we don't know what his status is going to be with this ankle injury. Louis' back is still acting up. I think it's his back, whatever. He didn't play the last 2 weeks. We'll see if he's back for the BMW Championship. I believe he has enough FedEx Cup points to get himself. Yeah, he's into Eastlake either way, but you would want to be able to jockey for position going through that as well. So you're not, starting at a huge deficit based on how the Tour Championship scoring works at the same time. By the way, the Tour Championship Picks and Bet show with Jeff and I will be out on Tuesday that week, because Monday, NFC win totals with me, Cust, and Jeff. We're back in. Basically, the Tour Championship is the overall complete flip back into full-time fantasy football season. Fantasy Golf Degenerates will still have a betting show every week on Mayo Media Network. Sky and Tom will have the Euro Pick show. I will have my DraftKings show for PGA. But for me, it's going to be NFL full-time, because, the last week of August through the first week of October is actually where we make all of our money, because that is the most interest in the channel. So if you can subscribe, tell people if they're into fantasy football to go check that out. And I'm going to be doubling up with fantasy football and golf shows for the next 2 weeks until we turn the page completely with that NFC win total show. One of the best shows of the year, by the way. And we have a Cuss Corner in the can. We got some awesome content coming out for you over the next little bit. The final guy to watch out for, injury-wise at least, is Colin Morikawa. Apparently, he hurt his back in the final round, or at least at the Olympics. Didn't say anything to anyone until post-round on Thursday, after Pat has 60% exposure to him on DraftKings, which that was information that, I don't know, could have been brought to my attention yesterday. Although it probably wouldn't have changed anything for me, because the narrative actually would have went, oh, Colin Morikawa is dealing with a back injury. Oh, now no one's playing Colin Morikawa. I'm going to play Colin Morikawa at exactly the same rate that I did anyway, so it's probably just a push for me. It really didn't matter. I wish him health, because I love Colin Morikawa. I hope he's healthy and he can make a run. This FedEx Cup playoffs, even if he has to take the week off, he's ahead of Louis in the standings. When you win a WGC and win a major and have some other high finishes, you're going to look pretty good in the FedEx Cup standings. Even if you don't really do anything in the playoffs, he should be still well situated for Eastlake and be a legitimate threat. He'd be my guy to watch out for. I think he can go really low at Eastlake. I think his game, if he can make some putts, is perfect for Eastlake. We even saw a little bit of that last year. That's sort of where he started rebounding again after the malaise post winning the PGA Championship for him. So best of luck, Colin Morikawa. I hope stuff comes through for you. Let's shift on to this week and take a look at the scorecard And the first thing you're going to notice, it is a lengthier course than what it had been previously. 7,542 yards. It's a par 72, so it's actually not that much longer than the course this week. There's just an extra par 5. So essentially the extra par 5 yardage, if you throw that onto Liberty National, would get you around 7,550 yards if you just added one more score to par from there. So it's a par 72 bent grass green, 70 players in the field. There is no cut. And the biggest thing that stands out to me, we'll do a course by hole breakthrough here in a second, is that there are 6 par 4s from 450 to 500 yards, and there are 3 par 4s from 350 to 400, 2 of which look pretty drivable, 3 if you're Bryson maybe, or if Brandon Hagee makes it through, or if you just got a lot of guts and want to carry some water. Not a bounty of water on this course. I think it's only in play on like 4 holes. A lot of sand though. So 450 to 500 yards, bunker play, 350 to 400. Then obviously the random other stuff, strokes gained approach. I don't know how the wind is going to affect this tournament, obviously as of yet. I don't know how long the rough is, because looking at this course like on paper and looking at the layout, it looks like it's going to be super easy. So you think that they're going to have to crank it up a bit, because you could say the same thing about Olympia Fields last year at the BMW Championship, where if the rough wasn't so penal, guys would have shot like minus 25. And instead, it turned out to be one of the hardest courses of the year, because if you put it in the rough, you were essentially dead. So being in the bunker might be better than being in the rough if the rough is up. But although I have no indications that that's actually going to happen this year, the new bunkers and teeing grounds were created. That's the upgrade to this, and difficulty has been added to the rough. But again, you really need to look at what is going on week of when the guys get there to see like how penal it might actually be. And generally, when there is super long rough, that's outrageous. There's like a social media buzz about it, so you'll know that going into it. The other thing is when you go to, let's just go over to the site here and go through the hole by hole. This is cavesvalley.net. If you want to go look at the hole by hole. But if you compare it to the scorecard, hole number 10 is actually hole number 1, and hole number 1 is actually hole number 10, as I found out when I was like, none of this matches up. So hole 10 is actually hole number 1. So when we look at this course, like I said, it doesn't look too daunting. This one could be drivable. It's 366. It's straight away. There's bunkers in front of it. Guys might go bombs away. It's hard to know what the elevation changes are by it. Like it says here, do not be fooled by the others. The 60-yard pitch shot is one of the hardest in golf, playing from a downhill lie to a green that runs from front to back. So guys might just, instead of laying it up 60 yards to the green, they might just go for the green and try to pitch it up and down, even try to fly the green. I know it's a long way to fly it. Maybe it gets held up in the rough. So I'm curious to see. This looks like it could be drivable with the right tee box, however. Then you have a par 5 that's a little bit right to left, but you just have to avoid these bunkers. Seems pretty easy. If the rough is up, fairways gained is obviously going to play a big thing. So the guys that have driving distance but also keep it in the fairway, the John Rahms of the world, the Dustin Johnsons of the world would probably be the ones that you'd be looking for. Rory would be another one in that circumstance as well. Par 3s are all pretty difficult. All 3 par 3s, I think there's one that's like 196, but 200 to 225 par 3 scoring is something to look at in this circumstance. Like this one, if we just jump back over to the scorecard, you can see 224, 223, 221, and 192. Even if you just wanted to add in 200-yard plus proximity on approach play, that way you can get all of these holes as approach play on it, although that still includes like 300-yard approaches. But it's not the easiest thing to narrow a lot of this stuff down. But you would also get second shots on par 5s included in that mix of plus 200-yard proximity. So you could even juxtapose the par 3 range and the proximity next to each other in your custom stat model, and maybe that can spit you out and take like the best aggregation, the best summation of those two. Actually, it would be the lowest. So because you want the highest, like 1 and 1 is what you would want. So that would be 2. So that would be the lowest summation of the ranks in that category to find out which players you actually do want to tailor everything around. So the 200-yard plus, 200 to 225-yard par 3s is something to look at as well. As you can see, a lot of bunkers, not a whole lot of water here. And if you're looking at the screen right now, you know where Pat would be. I'd probably actually find this like water in the fescue somehow. That would be fun. Pat's going to the drop zone on this one. A lot of thin greens on this course. Long but thin right to left greens. It doesn't seem like they have a lot of depth to them. I couldn't find any information on the square footage of the greens, but they seem to be uniquely shaped rather than like giant round surfaces. You're going to see a lot from this, like I said, like two-tiered, very thin left to right type greens at this course outside of Baltimore. Par 5, right to left. I don't know if you can get to these ones in 2 or not. It looks like you can get to all of them if you want to be super aggressive off the tee and with your approach shot. And again, it all depends on how the rough is, whether you're going to lay up or not. Hole number 14 looks drivable as well. If you can take a direct path over these trees, you can get to the green. Expect the Justin Thomases of the world to fall into this little layup area, because why go for the green when you're the best player in the world from 100 yards out? That only makes sense to me. So you're going to see half the field do that. Some of the bigger hitters or good around the green players, like almost everyone will be able to get there because it's a hard dog leg right that if you can cut that corner, even if you landed the bunker, if they're not so bad. This hole forces players to choose an iron off the tee or take a direct line to the flag from 330 yards away. We know some of the bigger hitters can most definitely carry this off the green or off the tee to get there to the green 330. Keep it going. Hole number 6, the 15th, is a par 3. It's a longer one. Hole number 16, a hard dog leg right to left. The 17th plays a bit left to right, although you're probably not going to end up in like the carryover area behind these trees. You put it in the fairway and then take on those bunkers depending on where you're at. Hole number 9 looks pretty difficult, actually, even though it's a straightaway. It's a bit of one of the longer holes on the course. So then you make the turn. You have a just winding par 4, although you can probably get rid of this area here and just play it straight over these bunkers, and it's a pretty short shot in. Hole number 2 is potentially drivable if you want to take on this water. If there are adequate landing areas and the hole isn't all that rough, if the rough isn't all that long around the green, if you can miss to the right and that's not a problem, miss long, put it in the bunker, and you know that you can carry the water, expect a few guys to go for it. The move is going to be to lay up to have, it looks like a pretty simple approach shot into this green, only 362 yards to the middle of the green. So it all depends on where the wind is going and how long you can hit it off the tee. In that regard, there is water in play on that hole if you choose to take it on. On number 3, the par 5, there's water all along the right. It doesn't seem like it comes into play all that much based on this design, though. Hole number 3 is over water, although it doesn't seem to be the hardest, although it's 225 yards from the men's handicap. It's number 15 in terms of difficulty. Hole number 4, pretty much straight away on a par 4. We're out of the water section of this, and there are bunkers at the landing areas on most of these drives. So again, bunker play, especially out of the fairway, is going to be pretty key. But like I said, if the rough is up, sometimes you're better off being in the bunker as long as you're not buried. Hole number 16 is a par 5. It's the toughest par 5 on the course. It's around 600 yards. There's big bunkers everywhere. This is one where you're going to have to hit the fairway. Very thin. It looks like the fairways are pretty thin on some of these holes. So again, it all depends on how the rough ends up shaking out in that regard. Hole number 17 is a par 3 with water off to the right. I'm guessing that the Sunday pin is going to be behind the water up here on like a 220-yard hole. So just play it to the center of the green, make your par, move on your way. Do not put it in the water. And then hole number 9, the closing hole, one of the harder ones, very few landing areas here in terms of a very thin fairway. The green looks super small at the same time. And there is a stream down the right-hand side. Approach shots missed to the right will go into that stream. So it's very much like, not the Byron Nelson now, but when they play at TPC San Antonio, that final par 5, where there is that creek going along the way that you can find yourself like wedged up in that. And the creek down the right-hand side is a lot like the creek down the left-hand side at Quail Hollow on the final hole in order to really figure that part out. So that's what the course looks like overall. If we jump over to Fantasy National, we don't have the field loaded in because we don't know what the field is yet. But essentially, if we take a look at the projected FedEx Cup standings, you're going to see Damon and Mitchell need to continue to play well and stay where they are to go in. Palmer, Mickelson, and Wolf seem like they're fine despite the fact that they missed the cut. It looks pretty good for Munoz, Streb, Hughes, and Gooch at the moment to stay in. It all really depends on if like Gim, Higgs, and Power, potentially Putman, Poulter, and Perez can like really vault themselves up the leaderboard on Monday, and they would probably need like a top 5 finish in order to get themselves in, because I know Gim is already up there a lot anyway. Power can really make a move. Noren is another one who's up there, but I would, if Mitchell and Damon collapse and Noren doesn't have a great Monday, Fitzpatrick and Hatton probably are the 2 that end up getting in and taking those final 2 spots. If these guys all falter, if they continue to play well, obviously they're going to make it. So you could run a model if you wanted to, but I'm just going to take a look at the Northern Trust leaderboard right now for the event through 3 rounds that we have. Cam Smith, John Rahm tied for first. We just see the entire leaderboard. EVR, Mr. Chipping, Mr. Putting this week. His ball striking is 2.1. His short game is 6, 8, 9, over 9 for the week. So yeah, that's probably not going to lead unless he continues. The day off is going to be kind of weird for him. Like I mentioned with Finau, he's just kind of solid across the board, just like Cam Smith has been. Rahm has been striking the ball way better than everyone else. Him and Hudson Swafford, of all people, who's in 11th right now. JT, obviously the ball striking has been good, putting well this week too. Sung Jae, keep him back on the radar for next week. The ball striking has been slowly coming back. Can't chip, can't putt, but we know that those are two things that kind of come and go for him. Connors can't chip. We knew that coming into the week, but the ball striking has been excellent. Paul Casey can't putt. Big shocker. Aaron Wise can't putt. Big shocker. He is gaining the most of all players off the tee this week, though. Him and the Gim Reaper, 2 guys I got in my best lineup. Hopefully they can actually hit their approaches and putt in the final round, get themselves inside like the top 15. We might be building a stew at that point. We got Im and Scheffler both bleeding a bunch of strokes, Piercy bleeding a bunch of strokes, and Bryson on and just around and on the greens, not doing so well. Ball striking pristine, though. If we get to a really hard course next week, Bryson could be in line to win the BMW Championship. He's sort of like my early eye for that because, as you see with Bryson, that the driving is always good. The irons, that'd be the second consecutive start in a strong field where he's playing really well with his irons. Hopefully he can fix around the green game, but if he can just turn the putting back to where he's normally at, that makes him a leading contender. And maybe because of the up and down nature that he's had at Liberty National, that maybe we can catch like a 30 on him again. And then I would be in on that number when the pricing comes out. So I'm back to get in on Bryson, my guy Bryson. Love Bryson, and I like his up and downs. I find it just makes it more entertaining for me. You'll see that Berger also cannot putt this week. Where's old Berg's at? Yeah, the approach play continues to be fire, almost 5 strokes gained through 3 rounds. Can't drive. I mean, he's pushing driving, pushing chipping, and lost 3 strokes putting. The irons continue to be hot for Daniel Berger, though. As you can see, if you can just put it all on the same page, I'll probably be back on him again next week because obviously approach play is the most important stat that you can have in golf. Henley lost almost 7 strokes putting and gained almost 5 on approach. Good for you, Russell Henley. Hopefully you can... Is he projected to be in? He has to be, right? Yeah, no, Henley's on the... No, where the fuck is Henley at? Henley, yeah, he's going to make it through to the BMW Championship, where he's a very accurate driver of the ball. If that does become something that really needs to be hammered down on the BMW, I wouldn't mind going back to Russell Henley. He owes us money, so maybe he can come through for us. I don't know. And the putting usually isn't that bad for him. Like, good God. Like, he's top 10 in the field in approach. Minus 6.8 strokes putting. Not great, Russ. Figure it the fuck out, pal. Anyway, those are some of my early leans. When I build the model this week, like I said, sand saves is where I want to go with. It seems like they're all over this course. Very little water to go through. And then we have par 4s, 350 to 400. And then there are 6 from 450 to 500 yards. Par 3s, 200 plus. Approach, 200 plus. Will probably be the key stats that I'm looking for the week when I end up building the model for myself, or when you want to go to Fantasy National and do the inputs yourself for the BMW Championship once we have the field to be loaded in. So once again, Tuesday is when all the golf content is going to start for me. Monday is the tools walkthrough, and I'll have a draft recap show for the NFL as well if you want to check that out. I'm Pat Mayo, playing the Listeners League. Smash the like, sub to the channel, sub to the podcast, and I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!